is April 2014 in Oklahoma, and Clayton Lockett is lying on a table behind glass, where family members and reporters are watching his every move of his last few minutes of life. Clayton is about to receive the death penalty in the form of lethal injection. The three-step drugs are administered, and at that moment, something goes terribly wrong. If the drugs are administered properly, it'll be a fast, painful death in under 10 minutes. But something goes wrong during this execution. The intravenous line is not placed properly. Lockett groans, lifting his head off the gurney. It is almost like a picture out of a horror movie. His body starts jerking, and he tries to talk and start mumbling. At 6:56 p.m., 43 minutes after the lethal injections have started, the execution is called off, and a motionless body is left on the table. Oklahoma is one of the 32 states that administer the lethal injection as an authorization method of the death penalty. Since the incident of Clayton Lockett, Oklahoma has been called off by doing lethal injections by the Supreme Court. This particular case drew fresh attention to the ongoing debate about whether the death penalty by lethal injection should be continued to be used in our nation. This particular case, though, the case with Clayton Lockett, only affects Oklahoma. According to Al Jazeera America, lawyers for the Oklahoma inmate say the three-drug protocol can cause extreme pain, violating the Constitution's 8th Amendment on cruel and unusual punishment. By the end of June, this case will be decided on. If the Supreme Court votes against the ban of using lethal injections, people like Clayton Lockett will continue to suffer by receiving lethal injections. Although many people think that criminals deserve the death penalty in the form of lethal injection, we still live in a humane society, and the 8th Amendment should be the ultimate deciding factor. In order for us to fully understand the battle over whether or not the lethal injection should be used, we're first going to examine the issue as in the United States as a whole, not only Oklahoma, to see where the issue is, and then we must look at what people are saying about it. It is important for us to look at this topic not only in Oklahoma, but in the rest of the nation, as 32 of our 50 states have chosen the death penalty by lethal injection as the execution method. The botched Oklahoma trial of Clayton Lockett was not the first injection that had gone wrong. According to the Washington Post, there was a lethal injection gone wrong in Ohio. Dennis McGuire struggled and choked for several minutes and took nearly 25 minutes to die, suffering every second of that time. Another inmate from Arizona, Joseph R. Wood, took nearly 2 hours to die, with witnesses saying that he gasped for most of the time. According to the National Journal, the U.S. preferred method of execution by injection has the highest percentage of struggles compared with historic methods such as hanging and electrocution. States such as Ohio have botched executions of nearly 19%. So people are asking, why is this happening? Because it should be, since it's the preferred method, it should be smooth and quick and painless. But it all comes down to that the United States is in a drug shortage. The 3 drugs that we use, one of them we are in a complete shortage, and according to the Washington Post, there has been a high level of secrecy in this part. In their scramble to carry out death sentences, prison officials from different states have made secret handoffs of lethal injection drugs. State workers have carried stacks of cash into unregulated compounding pharmacies to purchase chemicals for executions. Some states, like Oklahoma, have relied on unproven drug cocktails, all while saying that they have to keep it a secret just to protect them. It all comes down to this. States have too many prisoners to be executed and not enough lethal drugs to execute them, so they're using less, which is causing extreme pain, and they're trying to make their own substitutions. According to Fox News, Texas only has 1 lethal injection left after the recent execution of Manuel Vasquez on March 11, 2015, which was on Wednesday night. 6 prisoners are scheduled for execution in the next coming weeks, but there's no more lethal, there's 1 lethal drug dose left. According to the Council of State Governments, Ohio has just 1 dose of the drug left. Last month, Hospira, the sole U.S. company approved to manufacture the drug, announced that it will no longer produce this drug called sodium thiopental, a drug used in the 3-drug process. The CSC also says that this shortage has forced states using lethal injections to scramble for any remaining stock and to explore alternatives. Now that we know the lethal injection situation in our nation, let's now see and hear what people are saying about it and their opinions. According to Amnesty International, death penalty by lethal injection is anything but humane. The article goes on saying that some execution had lasted for 20 minutes to an hour and prisoners gasped and struggled the whole time. Autopsies have shown that there's foot-long chemical burns to the bodies, and the skin and the needles from the IV have been found in the soft tissue of these prisoners. On the other hand, Supreme Court has ruled that lethal injections does not violate the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment, as written in The Guardian. Several other accounts have been made on the nation's topic, such as in Al Jazeera America. An article published by Austin Surratt, an accredited author and professor of jurisprudence, said this: lethal injection has proved the most unreliable of America's technologies of execution, with more than 7% of the executions botched. Submitted by Shannon Hogan, an article in the Chicago Tribune says this: lethal injection is much more humane than a lot of the other methods. It's a lot less painful than execution. According to the Washington Post, nationwide support for lethal injection is still favored, as 60% of Americans still favor this method as the execution method. If our Supreme Courts don't think that the lethal injection is against our country's 8th Amendment, and with the current situation in our nation, people like Clayton Lockett will continue to suffer in their execution. More executions will be botched as time goes on and the drug shortage becomes more serious. People will experiment more. In order to understand the battle of executions, we looked at the current situation in the United States and what our people were saying about it. As everyone has their own opinions on this issue, as people do on every issue, we should all remember the basis on which this country was founded. I think that before the Supreme Court votes, they need to keep in mind not only the prisoner like Clayton Lockett, but also their families, and remember that no one deserves a horrible, painful death. Thank you.
How long is it supposed to be?